Welcome to NPT TV. I'm Randall Mauricio.
And I'm Tamara Forlansky. You've seen those funny little boxes on ads. Well, they're QR codes, and nonprofits are starting to use the technology to help them engage supporters and donors through smartphones.
Yeah, more on that a little bit later, but first, here are your headlines.
Giving goes up, but still behind.
Watching the Watchdogs.
And nonprofits after Bin Laden.
This episode is brought to you by Global Cloud, improving lives through nonprofit web software and services.
While giving to charity increased in 2010, it might be half a decade before it returns to pre-recession levels. According to Giving USA, a publication of Giving USA Foundation, researched and written by the Center on Philanthropy at Indiana University, Americans gave about $291 billion to charity last year. That's up from about $280 billion. Center on Philanthropy Executive Director Patrick Rooney says at that rate, it could take 5 or 6 years before giving levels bounce back to what it was. Adjusted for inflation, total giving was more than $280 billion a year every year for the past decade and surpassed $290 billion in 6 of the last 7 years. Observers still were hopeful about last year's increase after a combined drop of more than 13% the past 2 years. As a percentage of gross domestic product, charitable giving stayed at 2%, the 14th year in a row it's been at least that high. Individual giving was up 2.7% from $206 billion. It continues to make up about 73% of all giving.
Charity regulators have always watched nonprofits. Now nonprofits can watch them. Mark Fitzgibbons, an attorney and direct response fundraising expert, has launched CharityRegulatorWatch.com. Fitzgibbons takes on state and federal regulators with regard to registration issues. He claims charity regulators can be the biggest violators of the laws governing charities, mostly because they're not accountable. He says they need a spotlight shined on them. Fitzgibbons stresses the site is not legal advice, just information and activism. To check out the website, go to CharityRegulatorWatch.com.
New York City Mayor and noted philanthropist Michael Bloomberg is starting a new agency to help the city's 501c organizations get low-cost, tax-exempt financing to expand or upgrade facilities. The New York City Industrial Development Agency previously issued tax-exempt bond financing for nonprofits' capital projects, but it hasn't been able to grant such financing since January 2008 because of a change in the law. According to the mayor's office, more than a dozen groups have gotten out-of-state funding totaling more than $337 million since June 2009 and another $400 million in projects ready to go.
At Global Cloud, we're improving lives through web software and services. Today, social media plays a key role in your success, and our donor-driven social fundraising and marketing software will grow your cause exponentially. With Donor Drive, you'll easily mobilize support through Facebook, Twitter, and other social outlets while taking the complexity out of your efforts. Let us help you connect. To make the switch, visit globalcloud.com today.
It was the news some families and survivors of the September 11th terrorist attacks have waited to hear for almost a decade. Osama bin Laden was either captured or killed. Still, nonprofits created after the attack are staying on course. For example, Voices of September 11th still held its annual fundraising gala in New York City, featuring former Mayor Rudy Giuliani. And plans for the 10th anniversary are still moving forward. World Care Center Executive Director Lisa Orloff says she believes the news will have no effect on their event commemorating the 10th anniversary of the attacks or fundraising strategies. With no plans to make a statement on the news, Orloff did say their outreach towards communities would take on a different perspective.
Those funny little boxes on magazine ads and posters that look like Rorschach tests are called QR codes. And anyone with a smartphone and downloaded free app can connect to whatever the ad is pitching. Nonprofits are using them to bring people into exhibits and to events that tie donors to the charity. So we caught up with Brett Meyer from the technology nonprofit N10 to talk about this emerging trend. Hi, Brett.
Hi, Randall.
Brett, QR codes seem to be popping up more regularly in commercial advertising. How are you seeing nonprofits use QR codes in their operations, whether it be fundraising, communications, or marketing?
I'd say nonprofits are still in the experimental phase with this. A lot of nonprofits don't even know what QR codes are yet at the moment, so there's a lot of advice out on the internet for nonprofits on how they should be using it, but we haven't seen a lot of organizations who are actually using it. Greenpeace is doing a good job. There is an organization up in Canada who is using QR codes and sending people out and tacking them up on telephone poles so people can scan them in and find more about how to protect the wilderness in Canada. I believe that's the Big Wild. We've actually used it at our own conference. We put the QR codes on people's name badges, and when people scanned it in, it went to their profile on a website so people could learn more about them at a later date if they wanted to. So it's kind of like passing a business card, only virtually, so you don't have to actually carry around the paper with it. We also used it as a joke, so when you scanned in a QR code on a sticker, it said, "Congratulations, you're a geek." But this technology is so easy to use at this point that there's no reason that nonprofits shouldn't be using it for their marketing campaigns and other applications.
What's the easiest way to get started experimenting if you're a nonprofit looking to see what it's all about?
Well, if you have a fundraising campaign going out and you're still sending out print materials, as most nonprofits are, you send out the little coupon that people can send back. But usually these days you're also directing them to a URL. It's very unlikely in our experience that people are actually going to take the time to type in a long URL. But if you put a QR code on that coupon that you send to them, they can simply scan in the QR code with their mobile device, and it will take them directly to your website and the online donation form. So you're just making it easier for them to get to the places where they can give you money.
Definitely a wealth of information. Brett, thanks for taking the time. Of course, we do have more of him. Simply click on the banner right below the video player and watch the full interview.
And a quick note before we go, plan to be in the Washington, D.C. area from July 20th to 22nd for the Bridge to Integrated Marketing and Fundraising Conference. You'll join about 1,200 of your closest friends by going to bridgeconf.org. We'll see you next time.